in front of you guys. So like she mentioned, there's a little flash drive in that case that is a gift to you guys. There's also a little packet of information. That's just going to be different notes and stuff that we've gone over. That way, if you forget anything, you can always go back to that. Otherwise, this will also be recorded. We'll post this on to our YouTube page. So again, if you forget anything, you can always rewatch it. Otherwise, we also are having the class this evening. You can come back. It'll be the same class, but I mean, if you want to hear it twice. There's also a certificate showing that you'll have completed this class. And then we also do have a survey. This class was a part of a grant that we received. And so the survey will let us know, or let them know how we did. If there's anything that we missed or that you have comments on, so you can definitely fill that out at the end. Otherwise, if you have questions along the way, don't hesitate to ask. Otherwise, afterwards, if you have specific questions, we can try to get those answers. But otherwise, we'll try to go over most of the basics here.
Yeah.
So,
and we did have this is our 4th class. So we had an email basics class that we started with that we have. Did we have a video for that one?
I don't think that one.
I don't think that one recorded right, but we had an email basics class. We had an internet basics class and a cybersecurity basics class. The other 2 we should have recordings of up on our webpage, so you can look at those. So if you need some help with like basic things with the internet and knowing a little bit about cybersecurity to make sure you're going to like good websites and things like that, we have those out there too that you can go back and look at.
Otherwise,
yes. What's your background?
I actually taught for 17 years. I was kind of a technology leader in my department, and I was a Google certified educator as well. So a lot of technology stuff. And I love teaching classes and stuff like this. I think it's a lot of fun. I'm married to an IT guy, so that helps. I know a lot more because of him.
You too?
Just worked in libraries for years, so I've worked in school libraries and public libraries.
She does a lot of stuff with databases here too, yeah, so yeah.
So we would go to the library's website to be able to view those 2 classes that were.
So our YouTube page. So if you go to the Yankton Community Library.
Is that this address on the back there? Where did I see it?
No, it wouldn't be on there. You just have to go to YouTube and search Yankton Community Library, and that would show all of our different classes. That would also be like where our seed library classes are on, if you guys have gone to any of those. But yeah, so you would just have to check out the YouTube channel.
And you just search for Yankton Community Library and it'll show you, it has our logo and stuff on there, so you know it's our YouTube page.
Otherwise, coming up in January, we'll be having 2 different mobile device classes. We'll have a class for Android and a class for Apple. I think, if I remember right, the Android class will be January 9th, which is a Tuesday, and the Apple class will be January 11th, which is a Thursday.
Those might be flipped.
Is it?
I feel like I looked at them last night, but yeah.
We'll have posters and information about that once that gets closer to. But so if you have questions about using cell phones or anything like that, that's a class you guys can definitely come to. Otherwise, we'll probably have more computer classes in the future, so that's something you can always keep your eyes out if you have any questions.
You're not in the newspaper, probably.
Yeah, I think most of our events go on the newspaper, on the radio. It'll be on our Facebook page and our website. So.
Will you be doing more classes, just basic knowledge on the computer?
Yep, and that was what was with our grant. It's all different basics classes. Because this one's specifically for like Windows, but if people are Mac users at all, we can also do a basics for Mac. But yeah, they had like 8 different basic classes about about digital literacy, and so definitely something to look forward to in the future.
Yeah, and we can repeat some of our other classes too if we know we've got the interest out there that we can repeat, like email basics and things like that. So
it's for Windows 10, but you know, whenever you're on the computer, every 4 months or so, they want you to upload to 11. Is that a smart thing or no?
I mean, you definitely can. They're always updating stuff. I'm not sure how different Windows 11 will be. Sometimes their changes will be very minimum, but sometimes their changes are very drastic. So I'm not sure how different Windows 11 will be compared to Windows 10.
And if you're not sure, like you think, okay, I don't know if I want to switch it or I don't want to switch it, one of the things that you can do is you can go out and search like the difference between Windows 10 and 11, and see if there's a video out there that'll explain to you like what changes you would see from one to the other. There's usually really good videos out there for that. Like YouTube is a really great resource for learning differences of things like that, or if there's an app you want to use on your phone but you don't know how, there's a lot of really great videos out there for that. YouTube is a great resource. I use it a lot to learn different things myself. So
Well, and then you always kind of wonder, okay, is this a pop-up? Somebody trying to get into my.
yeah, that's why
computer?
if you go directly to YouTube, it's a little bit better.
Yeah. Well, we'll get started here. Again, if you guys have questions along the way, don't hesitate to ask. We'll go over most of the basics here. We're first going to do a little introduction to teach about what operating systems are. We'll do some skill building. You'll be able to learn how to find and navigate the desktop, organize files and folders, manage the windows of an application, save and close files, and delete files. We'll also have some tips for you, and we'll have some practice for you to do along the way. So what is an operating system? An operating system is the software that handles the functions of the computer to make sure everything is working together. So in the case of a PC, that is Windows 10. That is your operating system. So with Windows 10, usually this is the screen that you would see with your little apps over here and your search bar down below. So when you're working from the desktop, your taskbar is going to be down here. That's going to show you all the shortcuts for different apps that you normally go to. There's also down in this corner, that's where it's going to show you the time and date. This is also where you'll have different settings like your volume, connecting to Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, anything like that. Also any notifications that you might get. This is where usually you'd get that update, like if you're wanting to download like Windows 11 or anything, any of your notifications are going to pop up down in that corner. So what is an application? An application is a tool that allows you to do things on the computer. So in this case, we have Microsoft Word, Internet Explorer, and then the calculator. So any application that allows you to do something.
Yeah, it's very similar to like if you have a smartphone, the apps on your smartphone, it's very similar on the computer. Basically, you can't do anything on the computer without them. You need them to use any of the basic functions, whether you need to type a letter or something like that. All those applications are what's going to help you do that.
So down in the corner here, we have the search bar. This is what you can use to search any application. So if it's something that doesn't show up on your home page, you'll just click into the search bar and search. So if you know you have Word on your computer but you can't find it, you can just click on there, type in Word, and that will bring that up for you to be able to access that. This Windows button, that is going to show you your menu. So if you click that, this is going to show up. And so this is going to show you a list of all the different applications that you have available on your computer. Here, it'll have it broken up into different folders. You can see this has like productivity, explore, so just different things that you might use on a regular basis. So it's a good thing to always look in here to see what you have available for applications.
And those are things that you can customize and change out. Like a lot of times you can drag an application into here and just drop it, and then you can see that regularly.
Drop it into where?
Sometimes
Like one of these squares.
Can we drop it where?
You like
Oh, we need it.
Like if you clicked on an application from over here, like if I clicked on camera, because that's something I use a lot, I can just click it and hold it and drag it there. And then it'll be there so I can see it easily and use it regularly.
Can you drag that down to the taskbar?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Sometimes when you click on those like Office and then you get into that and they sometimes want to charge you for what's available, is that?
With Microsoft, I do believe you have to pay to have those available. Usually it's like a yearly fee. There might be a free version of it, but I do know that is something you do have to pay
Yeah,
for.
you either, so depending on what you signed up for, like originally you could like pay for an application and you would have it like indefinitely. And now they do more of a subscription service so that you're constantly getting the updated and newest version of it. And a lot of that is to deal with like bug fixes and new features and things like that. So it's more expensive than it used to be, but you're also getting much more updated things. Whereas before, you purchased Microsoft Word 2007 and that's all you had. So if there were updates for the other ones, you would have to buy the next one up. Whereas this just kind of keeps you updated with the newest thing. So yeah, if it tells you that there's a fee or something like that, either you need to talk to somebody else in your household that manages those things. Like my husband is the one who manages our application. So I say, oh, it looks like our license expired and he'll get it updated. But otherwise, yeah, it'll run you through how to resubscribe or pay that fee so that you can keep using it.
How do you draw that down to the taskbar?
So it'd be the same thing where you'd hold down onto it and just drag it down there. Otherwise, if you have the application open, if you were to right click on it, it'll have an icon that says like pin to taskbar, and then that's how it would.
And that'll work for putting it on the desktop too. Same thing, you click on it, hold it, drag it to the desktop, and it'll automatically create a shortcut for you.
So also in this menu, this is where you would go to either put your computer to sleep, shut it down, or restart it. This will also show you if you have any updates that need to be made. So it'll usually say like update and restart. So if you need to update your computer, that's a good place to check.
Okay. So why would you just put it to sleep?
So that would be where you're not turning it off, but the screen will go black. It'll help save battery life. But like if you were working on a document and don't want it to go away, like if you hadn't saved it yet and you're going to go back to it, but you just don't want your battery to die, you can put it to sleep so it'll all still be on there on the computer, but your battery won't be draining.
Yeah, like if I had a laptop and I was going to take it to go do a presentation and I have everything open and I'm ready to go do my presentation, I don't want to shut it down because then I'm going to have to open everything back up again. So sleep is just really reducing that battery usage while keeping everything open for you.
And generally, like if it does an update, it'll say, or you press shut down, it'll say.
Yeah,
It'll
next.
say update and restart.
Yeah, a lot, either shut down or restart. A lot of times it'll have like a little orange dot next to it that says something about updates available, restart your computer to install these and that sort of thing. And so a lot of times there'll be a little colored dot next to those and it'll give you an indication that, yeah, when you restart it, it'll install those updates for you.
So you want to use the restart only when
if your computer is functioning really, really slow, or there's an update and you want to get that update done and taken care of, but use your computer again right away, then you're going to want to restart. So, but a lot of times, like if you have an application that freezes or something like that, or you feel like your computer is just really slow and you need to reboot it, which is generally the first thing an IT person will ask you if you did that. They'll say, well, did you shut it off and turn it back on again? So restarting reboots everything. A lot of times it'll close out an application that was bogging your computer down. So sometimes restarting can speed it up a little bit too.
So you'll also be able to view your account up here. You can go into your settings at all, change any settings. You can lock your computer. Normally, if you have an account on your computer, you can like have it password protected. So if you don't want someone to open up your computer and just be able to access everything, you'd be able to update your password in there and view any additional settings. Otherwise, you'll also be able to sign out. So like if you have multiple people using the same computer, you could have separate accounts for each of those. So let's say like you have an account and then your husband also has an account. So if you want to go between those, you'd have to sign out to get between those. The start menu up here, that is going to show you all the applications that are available on the computer. So if you click that, that's going to bring up that list again of all the applications that you have downloaded and that you can use. So here are some different ways to open up an application. So you can either double click the icon on your desktop. You can single click on the application on the taskbar at the bottom. You can click on the start menu, or you can search from the search bar. So there's 4 different ways that you can open up an application.
And a lot of people tend to find one way that they really, really like there are people whose desktop is completely covered with shortcuts. And if that's what you like, you can go with it that way. If you don't use very many things and they fit on the taskbar nicely, the taskbar is nice because it's one click and it opens up for you. So it's really about personal preference, about what you want.
So we'll do our first little activity here. So name 3 ways in which you can open an application like Microsoft or Word or Edge browser. So where could you click on here to open up an application?
Taskbar, double click on the.
You can double click right there or single click on this one if it's in the taskbar, just one click.
No, I double click on the
Yeah.
screen
Desktop. So this is desktop and this is taskbar.
or go to menu.
Go to the menu. So yeah, first way, double click on any of these that are on the desktop. Or you can single click any of these that are on the taskbar. Or again, hit the Windows button or search bar down below. So those are the different ways that you can open up an application. So what is a file? A file is a package of information. So like a Word document or a picture, it's all a form of information that you are saving to your computer. An application is the software or tool that you use to perform tasks. So whether you're opening and reading a document or writing a document, saving pictures, watching videos, listening to music, those are all different applications that you can have on your computer. So a folder is a method of storing and organizing these. So you can see this folder here, it's called Celine's Documents. So any documents that Celine is wanting to put together to have saved, she'll put in this folder. So it's just a way to organize things, just like a filing cabinet, having different folders. It's a way of putting similar information together to make it easier to access.
Are you going to go over how to create that folder and bring it to the desktop?
Yes, there is going to be a
Okay.
little bit of that.
I
in
didn't
here.
want to
It'll get more specific.
Because I was sitting here thinking, I don't want to get another folder,
Yep.
create.
Yes. So when you open a folder, you'll double click on the folder and that will open it up and show you all the files that are inside. So you can see there's a list of folders there. If you double click on any of these files, that's what will open them. So if we were to open an Excel file, you can see that would open up here. So a window is anytime you open and use an application. So this part here is the window. That is your working area. So that is what you're working on right now. So you can change the size of this window. So right now it is smaller than the full screen. If you click on any of the corners and drag, that is going to change the size of it. So if you want to make it a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, you'll hold on to that side and drag it. So you can see this little arrow notification will pop up and you can drag that. So above here, this is the title bar. This will show you some different things that you can do to manage your document, like saving it, or there's like the undo button or redo button if you messed up something and you need to go back. Any of those will be up here in the title bar.
Yeah, and then there's like minimize, maximize, and close. Yep, there we go.
So if you want the screen to take up the whole page, you don't want to be able to see like the desktop behind here, you'd click this square button and that's going to make it as big as your screen. So that'll be as big as you can have it.
How do you get it back down?
You can hit it again.
Yep, we'll get there.
Yeah.
So once you have it full, it'll now show up with 2 squares right here. So when you click that, that'll restore it. So that'll get that back to that smaller screen size instead of having it take up the whole page.
And these are all right clicks?
Yep. Yep. So you'll just
Left click.
Yep,
Left click is your
yep,
standard click.
your standard click. Yep.
Left click is the standard click on the mouse. So your right click is generally to pull up some sort of menu, but your left click, the left button, that's the one that you use for opening things.
You
And
need like a mouse.
yeah, that's the thing you use basically to do something versus opening a menu up. A lot of times right click gives you more options for something. Left click is the main click on your mouse.
So then how do you know when to do one click versus two click? Or are we gonna get into that?
So normally you'll just have to click one time. On the desktop, they have you double click to open something. But usually if you're clicking on anything, you usually only have to click once. Sometimes if you see it hasn't read your click, it might have you click again. But generally you'll only need to click once on something. Unless it's being slow. So over here, this is your scroll feature.
This right here.
So right along the edge of the page there, you'll hold onto that and move it up and down. That's how you can scroll down to view more information that might not all be showing on your page, especially if you have a lot of information and you can't see it all at the same time. So you'll click there. Otherwise, on your mouse, that middle button, that it's like, yeah, the scrolly button. If you use that, that'll also allow you to move the page up and down.
And on a laptop, a lot of times on just like your little mouse area, a lot of times you can just scroll on there by swiping your finger up or swiping your finger down. It depends on your own settings, whether you go up or down to go a direction, but that's usually where you can do it too.
Sometimes in trying to use the bar, you press up and all of a sudden it's way past what you.
Yeah, and part of that is like if you click on the open area, it jumps down far in the document. So if you are scrolling, you want to make sure you click on the bar and drag it. If you click on an area that's not the little scroll bar right here, if you click somewhere here, it's going to jump farther down in the document.
But at the top and the bottom, there's little arrows.
Oh, yep.
And
you can use
sometimes
those.
you press the up or down and it'll go nice and slow. Other times it goes.
And that depends on the document too. If you have like you can see all of these little lines are really thin. If you have something that is a big chunk of information, so like a big cell in here in Excel, it will jump past that one and it will go much farther than you expected it to quickly, just because you're arrowing down.
So it's better to.
Scrolling is just sometimes easier.
So up in this corner, we also have the minimize button. Clicking that will minimize it down to your taskbar, so it'll still be open and running. You just won't be seeing it on your main screen. This is helpful for when you have multiple applications that you want to have open at the same time. So you can see that Excel folder is still down here. It's just not open on your screen. If you're wanting to open it back up, you would just click on that and that will bring that document back up.
If it's a folder, you can actually you got the folder at the bottom. If you minimize it, should bring it down there.
Yeah, it'll put it right there. Now,
then you open up another folder.
Yep. If you have a bunch of things open, there might be a little arrow like right here where you have to go over farther on your taskbar. But anything that's down here on the taskbar, just remember to open it. You're only going to single click on it. If you double click, it's going to open and minimize it again.
But if you let's say you have several and you press the button, it's going to bring those all up and you can click on the one.
So like if you had several Microsoft Excel files open.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you click on it, it'll show them.
Down at the bottom and then
you can click on the correct one.
Yeah. All right.
So having multiple documents over, you can see we have a Word document and also an Excel document. So if you want to be viewing both of those at the same time, especially if you're working on them both and you kind of need to see both screens, you can have those there. Otherwise, if you accidentally pull up this Word document, but you just want to see that Excel button, again, you would just click that minimize button and that would bring it down. If you hold down on this top bar, if you hold down and drag, that's how you'll move these documents on the screen. So if you know you need to move the Excel folder or file over so you can actually see it better, you'll just hold on to that title bar and move it over.
Will you say that again? The green part?
Yeah, so do you see how there's kind of open space right
Yes.
here?
Right.
And you click somewhere on that open space and hold it and move it over, and it'll shift that window wherever you want it to go.
So yeah, you'll just be able to drag it along the screen depending on where you want it.
And I will say too, with these buttons, if you hover over them, it does say what they are. So if you forget which one is which, if you bring your mouse up and hover over that, it'll say minimize, so you can remember what it's for.
Another way to view everything you have open is this little managing button right here. This weird square, half square button. If you click on that button, that is going to bring up every application that you currently have open. So you'll be able to view them all at the same time. That's a way, if you're like, oh, I need to work on this Word folder, you can click on that Word and that's going to open that up, or Excel. If you're wanting to close out of this view, just click anywhere on the screen that isn't that folder, and that'll take you back to your main view.
Yeah, to your normal desktop. So if you don't want to look at this, like you think, how did I get here? Click in a blank spot and it'll go away.
I'm just looking that, like on mine, I don't have that.
And it might be something that was turned off.
Or it could be something that's just not on your taskbar anymore.
I'm not sure. I know that is something you can turn off, 'cause I have mine turned off because I don't use it.
I never use it either.
But it's just another way to view what you have open.
Okay, now how do I get out of it?
You can escape. There we go. So escape, if you have something that's taking up your full screen, if you hit the escape button, it should shrink out of it so that you can see the other stuff.
Okay.
So when you're saving a file, if you've saved a file before and just want to save your most recent updates, there is this save button up in the menu. You'll just click that and that'll save any updates that you have done so far. Otherwise, if you've never saved the file before and need to save it for the first time, we'll go to File, Save As, and then that's going to have you select where you want to save it. So whether you're wanting to save it to the PC, that would be saving it to your computer. OneDrive, that would be, if you have like a OneDrive account, that would be like saving it to the cloud.
Yeah, so that you could like log into your cloud account from someplace else and open it.
But yeah, if you're wanting to save it to your computer, you would do PC. Otherwise, if you have like a flash drive plugged in that you're wanting to save to, you could hit that browse button and then you'd select your flash drive to save to that. But yeah, this is just where you would click to choose where you are wanting to save it. See, and then you want to make sure you choose a location that you'll remember. If you save it and then you forget where it's at, you're going to be struggling to find it. So make sure you're either saving it to a folder you know, or you can always save to the desktop. That's an easy way to see where it's at. It's going to be right there for you to notice. You don't have to dig through files or anything like that.
A lot of times if I'm working on a document and it's not something I need long term, it's something I'm working on, I'm going to get it done and then I'm shipping it off somewhere or whatever and I don't need it anymore, I'll just save it on my desktop because eventually I can just easily delete it off. But if it's something I'm going to need in the future, I generally save it in a folder so I can go back and find it later. But if it's something that, oh, I just need to get this printed for whatever and then I'm not going to need it anymore, you can save it on your desktop and then you can easily delete it off your desktop.
So if you had it already saved to one folder, but you're wanting to save it somewhere else as well, we'll save it as a copy. So we'd hit Save as Copy. So again, we would select where we're wanting to save it. So in this case, we're going to save it to the computer. So we'll click this PC. So here's where it's going to have you name your file. So this will have the file that it was originally saved as. If you want to keep it as that, you can keep it. Otherwise, you can edit it in there. Along here, that's going to show you all the different places you can save it. So if you're just wanting to save it to your documents, you can click in there. Otherwise, like your downloads, the desktop. So wherever it is that you're wanting to save it in there, that's what we'll click on.
And a lot of times it will default the file name to whatever you have at the top. So if you have text at the top of your document that says Christmas letter 2023, that's what it's probably going to default as. You don't have to name it that. You can name it whatever you want, but a lot of times that's just automatically going to show up as the file name, but you can change it. It doesn't have to be that, especially if you're typing a list of words. The first word in your list is going to show up as what you want to save it as. Make sure you pick a name that makes sense so that you can find it again.
Because that's the thing, if you do forget which file you saved it to, you can always go to the search documents and type in the file name, but then of course you have to make sure you remember what the file name is.
Yeah, so just make sure you make logical choices. If it's a Christmas letter, call it Christmas letter and the year, or something like that. If it's a list of books to read, title it Books to Read 2023 or something like that. Adding a year to the files that you have can really help you in the future. Like, hey, I want to look at the books that I read last year. Oh, wait, which one of these book lists is it? But adding a year can help you a lot. So.
But if you just type in books to read, it'll look for anything that has books to read. And then you'll have a list and you can pick from that list too, correct?
Yep.
It's not like, unless you put 2023
Correct.
in there.
Yep,
But yeah, if you don't want to have to use the search feature as much, and you just, you have them saved to your book list folder or whatever, and you just want to open it, that is just easier when you're just looking at the file name. Sometimes if you search and you have 4 things that are named something similar, you have to open them to figure out which one is the right one.
Can I ask a question? If we saved it, let's say on the screen before, why would we want to save it in another place again?
So sometimes if you're wanting, like you have it saved to your desktop, but you're wanting to also have it in a folder, or maybe you had it saved, like let's say you had your reading list from 2022, but now you're gonna make a new one for like 2023, but you want to copy that same format, different things like that where you.
Can I also say, you see that?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. So the other thing is,
What
if
happens?
you save to your desktop, you end up with a very full desktop.
Busy,
But-
yeah.
Yes.
But let's say not the hard drive, but the processing breaks down, you lose this. You can't bring this up. But if you saved it in a file, it's on that hard drive. You can buy little kits and you can take that hard drive and make it an external hard drive and you'll have that information.
And you can also
I know
save
this
things.
is convenient,
Yeah.
but what you see here is called lazy.
Yeah.
So you're
And that's
gonna
why-
clean all that up when you leave.
And that's why I said
What's that?
I generally save temporary things on the desktop, and I leave the stuff that's more long-term to those dedicated folders, and I try to organize it, whether I have like work, personal, family, that kind of stuff. But you can organize your information in a lot of different ways, but it's a lot more helpful to do it that way than it is because if you save all of your files to your desktop, eventually your desktop gets full and you can't save anything else there. And it will tell you that if your desktop is full.
If you save to something you don't want to save to, I think I've got a mess on mine. Is it easy to go in and delete all?
Yeah.
And we'll show you how to
Okay.
delete
Yeah.
folder or
Okay.
files and folders and stuff like that
Okay.
here as well.
Will we cover, like, if you want to transfer something from one file to another?
We will show a little bit of how to move stuff. Mostly it is that clicking on it and dragging it. That's how you'll move it from
And
one place to
sometimes
another. But
A right click and saying move it somewhere. It just kind of depends on your preference a lot
I'm
of
trying to
times
give
too.
you ideas of program,
Yeah.
like Word and Excel.
well, and we did a Google class.
Yep.
But yeah, it would be good to have a Microsoft class too. So something that we'll have to think about going more in depth with those too. So let's see. So in this case, we aren't changing the name of the file, so you just hit save, and that's going to save that. Something to remember, if you're on a public computer, especially like if you're using one of our computers, there are going to be restrictions when saving a file. So like in the case of our computers, even if you save it to the computer, as soon as our computer shut down, it's going to wipe everything. So it's not actually going to save stuff. So when using a public computer, it's really important to use a flash drive or something like that to be able to save that document, because otherwise it's going to either disappear, or if you're at a place where it doesn't wipe it down, anyone who uses that computer will then have access to that, which, especially if that's personal information, you wouldn't want people to see that. So
Yeah, and we have laptops and hotspots available for checkout now. So if you wanted to work on computer stuff at home on the internet or whatever, you can check out a laptop and a hotspot and go home and work on stuff. But even on those laptops, when you close it, it wipes it. So you really want to have a flash drive to save your stuff on, which you got a free one for the class. We also will have them available for sale, that we offer them up when you go to check out those things too. But you have to save your info. If it's not your device, you should have some sort of like flash drive or something like that to save it on.
What if you can't get online?
Like
you
if
don't have
can't
internet?
get on the internet, you don't have the internet?
Oh, I have it, but I couldn't get on.
That would be something with connecting to Wi-Fi, if you have Wi-Fi, or do you just have like plug-in internet? That's kind of,
Wi-Fi.
yeah. So you would probably want to get somebody to come to your house and help you. I would recommend a young kid.
And
My
I've been told so
10-year-old
far.
could probably tell you how to get.
I think it's atmospheric condition.
It really depends
Because
on
it
what
only
your
happens
service provider
once
is.
in a while.
Yeah, it depends on your service provider. Even, I mean, I live here in town and sometimes my internet goes down too, so.
Okay, got a question. Do you can go and find out what, there's generally a list of Wi-Fi, you know,
Networks, yeah.
your neighbor generally winds up with your neighbors and stuff like that. And if you know your Wi-Fi address,
I know it, I could put it in and.
It's just that it goes out sometimes.
okay,
Yeah.
all right, I didn't know.
And I went over to Verizon and I said, what's going on? They couldn't answer me.
And it's through Verizon?
Yeah.
Then you're probably right. It probably had to do with either weather, or especially with Verizon, the network is bogged down. A lot of people that are bouncing off that tower are using the internet or using their device right now. Like, I know if I go to a place that's crowded and I'm using my phone, which is essentially connecting to the same network as your Wi-Fi is, and there's a ton of people, my phone is super slow because everybody is trying to use that same network. And so the towers get bogged down. There are not enough towers as there are devices out
Neither
there.
one of my computers would go on, but I got on with my phone.
And sometimes that's because the hotspot sometimes I think gets a little bit more bogged down than your phone does. Because I have a hotspot and sometimes my kids can't get on, but I can get on, so.
Well, at least you gave me a better answer than Verizon did.
They don't want to admit that their network gets bogged down,
I think they need a new tower.
I think
Oh,
we just need more towers everywhere. It's a problem across the nation that we just haven't kept up with the number of devices versus the number of towers and stuff available, so.
Have you ever had anyone mention metal roofs being a problem?
I have no idea. That's not anything I'm sure about.
I could see it maybe block.
Interference.
We
Because I know-
have a metal roof, and every once in a while we get knocked off a phone call or something like that. And I don't know, we've blamed it on our metal roof.
You never
It
know.
definitely could be.
But then we've gotten boosters and stuff, in our house, so.
Yeah.
It hasn't been a problem, but we wondered about the metal roof.
Yeah, I don't know.
It could be. All right, so now that you have saved a file, you can close out of it. You just click that X up in the corner, and that will completely close out of the application. So to delete a file, you're going to use the recycling bin, which is located here on the desktop. So there's a couple ways you can do it. If you have a folder open and you want to delete this file, you'll just click and hold on to it, and drag it into that recycling bin. So click, hold down, and drag into the recycling bin.
Well, you can also do delete too, can't you?
Yep.
Yep, another way is if you select that file, you can click the delete button on your computer. It'll delete it that way. Or you can always right click on it, and that'll bring up that menu, and then you can click delete that way as well. So there are multiple ways, whichever one you're most comfortable with. But whenever you delete anything, it's going to go to that recycling bin.
And you can do that with multiple things. If you know that you wanted to delete everything in here, you could select all the things, or you could delete the folder, but you have that as an option. You can delete multiple things at the same time. Now, if you do that, a lot of times a thing will pop up and show like files going across, because if you delete a whole bunch of things at the same time, your computer has to take a minute to make sure that they get all of those files that you selected. So
Sometimes when I'm deleting my pictures, I swear that they don't delete, because when I put it on the next time, it looks like there's still 10 of whatever, and is that just a weird thing in my computer, or just,
possibly, or I don't know. It might be that you have them saved in more than one place. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
how
there's
do you
like
find
duplicate.
out whether you've got them saved in more than one place?
We'd have to kind of see your
Yeah,
device.
there'd be a
and
case by
look.
case thing.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, and it might be too that your computer was being slow and just didn't process that you had deleted it or something, and so you might just have to delete them again.
Deleting them too rapidly, and so it can't.
Especially pictures. Pictures are large files, and so they take a little bit longer to delete.
We gotta go back. You said you want to delete more than one thing at the same time. How can you drag all of them?
There's a few different ways. I don't think, does it have that in here?
It doesn't.
Yeah, I didn't think so. So one, you can click on an open area, just click with your mouse and drag up, and it'll select them all. So you can just click on an open space here and drag your mouse up, and you'll see them all get selected across. Otherwise, you can hit the control button and you can click each one. Or if you know you want to select everything, you can click the first one, hit shift, click the last one, and it'll select all of them. There's a lot of different ways to pick more than one file, and then you can delete or you can drag them into the recycle bin. All those same methods still work.
So let's say you deleted something and you want to get it back. We'll go to that recycling bin, and so long as it hasn't been emptied, it should be in there. I think most recycling bins will have it where every 30 days it'll empty. So long as you didn't delete it more than 30 days ago, or so long as you didn't go in there and manually delete everything out of there, you should be able to find it and restore it back. So you'd double click on that recycling bin to open it. And so then that's going to show you everything that you have deleted recently. So you can see we deleted those 2 items. If you're wanting to keep the file, you can hold down on it and drag it back to where you want it, whether you're wanting to bring it back to the desktop or put it into one of those folders. So you can just click on it, drag it, and bring it back to wherever you want to save it to get it out of that recycling bin. So when you're certain you're done with everything in the recycling bin and you want to delete it, we'll double click on, or I guess we'll right click on it to bring up that menu here, and it'll say empty recycle bin. So that'll delete everything out of there permanently. So once you've done that, you cannot go back and get those again. So if you're for sure done and don't want those on there, a good reason to do this is that'll save more space on your computer. If you're having tons of files in there, those are still taking up space. So sometimes it's nice to go through and permanently delete those. Another way is when you have your recycling bin open, if you click that manage button up on the toolbar, there's going to be a button here to hit that says empty recycle bin. That is just another way to empty all of those files out of there. Again, only do it if you're sure you're done with all those files, so you will not be able to get them back. Once you have hit empty recycle bin, it's going to bring up a little pop-up saying, are you sure you want to delete these? Once to make sure that you don't accidentally do that. That's why they make it a lot of steps. But once you hit yes, again, gone forever. So some different ways of opening up an application. The desktop and the taskbar are useful tools To open those applications, again, the desktop is that main screen and the taskbar is down below. The task view allows you to see all the windows that are open at one time. That was that weird square button that when you click on that, it's going to show you everything that you have open. Folders help organize files. The search bar allows you to quickly locate files and documents. And you can restore documents from the recycling bin, but only if no one has emptied it. So we'll do another little activity here. So if you want to open an application on the desktop, what do you need to do? Double click the icon on the desktop, single click the icon on the desktop, or drag the icon into the trash.
So on the desktop, that's the big main screen part. What do you have to do to open something on there? Yeah, double click twice. And you want to do it fast. If you do it slow, it's not going to open it. You got to click it 2 times quickly.
If you're wanting to minimize the window currently open on your screen, which icon would you click to minimize?
A negative if.
Yeah, that little minus button right there. If you want to close the window, what icon would you click?
Little X.
The X, yep.
Yeah, and if you just finished up with a document and you thought that you had saved the last changes that you made and you hit X, it's going to say you have unsaved changes. Are you sure you want to close? And then you can click like cancel and then save it again, that sort of thing. So it also warns you if you have a document open and you didn't save your last changes.
If you want to save a document, which icon would you click? The file button.
On the left.
Yeah, so there's 2 different ways. You can either click that save button right up there, and again, that's if you've already saved it before and just want to save your most recent updates. Otherwise, if you're saving it for that first time, you'd click file and then save as. So 2 different ways there.
Looks like a good old floppy disk.
If you accidentally delete a file, where can you find and retrieve it?
Yep, recycling bin.
Yeah, recycling bin. Okay, so that is all the main stuff we're going over today. But otherwise, if you guys have specific questions, or those of you that have computers and need specific questions answered for that, we can do that now. Any specific questions? More people signed up, so we'll see if they filter in. But otherwise, we'll get started here.